My dear children, come closer. I want us to talk about your education today.
Yes, Baba, I am ready. My teacher said I did very well.
Very well in mathematics today.
Baba, I also came first in my English test. My teacher said I should keep reading every day.
That is wonderful news, my dear. I love you all.
Before we continue this emotional African story, I want to hear from you. What do you think about Ibrahim and his beautiful family so far? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe this family will remain this happy? Or do you think something unexpected is about to happen? If you are enjoying this story, please take a moment to like this video and share it with your family and friends so more people can enjoy these powerful African stories. Also, let me know which part of the world you are watching from. I always enjoy reading your comments and seeing where our amazing audience is joining us from. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another emotional and inspiring African story. Now, let's continue with the story. The evening in Ilorin was soft and peaceful, the kind of evening that made people believe that tomorrow would be better than today. The sun was slowly going down behind the rooftops, painting the sky with golden light. Inside Ibrahim's sitting room, laughter filled the house like music. Ibrahim sat on a brown sofa, wearing his simple cream kaftan. His eyes were tired from a long day of teaching at the government secondary school, but his heart was full of joy. Around him were the 4 children he loved more than anything in the world. Yusuf, the firstborn, was 15 years old. He sat beside his father with his school books on his lap. Fatima, 12 years old, sat on the floor, smiling as she arranged her notebooks. Aisha, 8 years old, leaned against the chair, playing with her pencil. Little Farouk, only 5 years old, climbed on his father's knees and held his neck tightly. From the kitchen, Zainab was cooking. The smell of stew and fresh rice moved gently through the house. She could hear them laughing, and for a moment she smiled. But deep inside her heart, something heavy was hiding there. "My children," Ibrahim said, looking at them proudly, "you know why I work hard every day?" Yusuf answered quickly, "Because of us, Baba." Ibrahim smiled. "Yes, my son, because of you. I may not be the richest man in Ilorin, but as long as Allah gives me strength, I will make sure all of you go to school." Fatima looked at him with bright eyes. "Baba, I promise I will study hard. I want to become a lawyer one day." "A lawyer?" Ibrahim laughed happily. "Then you must learn how to speak the truth always. A good lawyer must fear God." Fatima nodded. "I will, Baba." Aisha raised her hand as if she was in class. "Baba, I want to be a doctor." Ibrahim clapped his hands softly. "That is beautiful, my daughter. One day you will treat many sick people and make this family proud." Farouk jumped on his father's legs. "Baba, I want to be like you. I want to teach children." Ibrahim held him close and kissed his forehead. "My little teacher, may Allah bless your mouth with wisdom." Yusuf opened his book and showed Ibrahim his mathematics work. "Baba, my teacher said I am improving." Ibrahim collected the book and looked at it carefully. "Good, but remember, Yusuf, improvement is not the end. Keep going until excellence becomes your habit." "Yes, Baba," Yusuf replied. From the kitchen, Zainab called out, "Food is almost ready. Don't let her father talk until the food gets cold." The children laughed. Ibrahim smiled and said, "Your mother is right. But before we eat, let me tell you something important." The children became quiet. "In this life," Ibrahim said gently, "money can finish, clothes can tear, houses can fall, but good character and education will follow you everywhere. Never lie, never steal, never betray someone who loves you." At those words, Zainab's hand stopped moving in the pot. Her face changed. She looked toward the sitting room, but nobody saw her. Ibrahim continued, "Trust is a beautiful thing. When people trust you, don't break their heart." Zainab swallowed hard. The spoon in her hand shook a little. For many years, she had carried a secret in her heart, a secret that could destroy the same house where laughter was now dancing. But Ibrahim knew nothing. To him, Zainab was the woman he loved. She was the mother of his children. She was the wife he trusted with his whole life. He never suspected her, not once. Soon, the family gathered around the dining table. Zainab served the food quietly, smiling as if nothing was wrong. Ibrahim prayed over the meal, and the children answered, "Ameen." They ate together happily. Farouk stained his mouth with stew, and Aisha laughed at him. "Look at Farouk, his mouth is red." Farouk frowned. "Don't laugh at me, I am still small." Everyone laughed, including Ibrahim. After dinner, Ibrahim helped Aisha with her homework, checked Fatima's English assignment, and listened as Yusuf talked about school. Soon, Farouk became sleepy and rested his head on Ibrahim's chest. Zainab watched them from across the room. Ibrahim was holding Farouk like a precious treasure. The boy slept peacefully in his arms. Her heart began to beat fast. She whispered to herself, "May this secret never come out." But in African folk tales, no secret sleeps forever. Days passed and the family continued living happily. Ibrahim woke up early every morning, prayed, dressed in his neat teacher's clothes, and went to school. He was respected by students and teachers because he was gentle, honest, and hardworking. In the market, Zainab was also known as a trader. She sold food items and fabrics in one busy area of Ilorin. People greeted her with respect, but nobody knew the fear living inside her heart. One Saturday morning, Ibrahim took all 4 children to buy school materials. He bought books for Yusuf, pens for Fatima, a school bag for Aisha, and small shoes for Farouk. Though the money was not much, he smiled as if he had bought gold. On their way home, Yusuf held his father's hand and said, "Baba, when I become rich, I will take care of you." Ibrahim laughed softly. "My son, I am already rich." Yusuf looked confused. "But Baba, you always say teachers don't have plenty money." Ibrahim stopped walking and looked at the 4 children. "I am rich because I have you." Those words entered Zainab's ears like a knife when Yusuf later repeated them at home. That night, she could not sleep. She looked at Ibrahim lying peacefully beside her. This man had never treated her badly. He had never denied the children anything. He had carried another man's children on his shoulders without knowing it. Tears gathered in her eyes. "Ibrahim," she whispered, but he was already asleep. The next morning, trouble came quietly. Farouk woke up weak. His small body was hot and his eyes looked tired. Zainab touched his forehead and shouted, "Ibrahim, come quickly." Ibrahim rushed into the room. "What happened?" "Farouk is burning with fever." Without wasting time, Ibrahim carried the boy in his arms and ran outside. Yusuf, Fatima, and Aisha began to cry. Neighbors came out as Ibrahim begged someone to help him get transport. At the hospital, doctors moved quickly. Zainab stood beside Ibrahim, trembling. After checking Farouk, one doctor came out with a serious face. "Who is the father of the child?" the doctor asked. Ibrahim stepped forward immediately. "I am his father." The doctor nodded. "The boy needs blood urgently. We must test your blood to know if it matches." "I am ready," Ibrahim said. "Take my blood. Take anything. Just save my son." Zainab's body became cold. She looked at Ibrahim. She looked at the doctor. Then she looked at Farouk lying weakly on the hospital bed. For 15 years, her secret had followed her like a shadow. Now the shadow was standing in front of her. Ibrahim stretched out his arm for the test, still praying under his breath. He believed he was about to save his son. But Zainab knew the truth. And as the doctor entered the laboratory with Ibrahim's blood sample, Zainab's knees became weak. She held the wall and whispered, "Allah, what have I done?" The peaceful home in Ilorin was about to face a storm, and Ibrahim, the loving father who had trusted with all his heart, was about to hear the first sound of a truth that would break him. The laboratory door closed behind the doctor as he carried Ibrahim's blood sample inside. Outside, the hospital corridor became strangely quiet. Ibrahim remained standing with hope in his eyes, believing that within a few minutes, the doctors would return, transfuse his blood into Farouk, and save the little boy he loved with all his heart. Zainab sat on a nearby bench. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She could not look at Ibrahim's face. Every second felt like an hour. She whispered silent prayers, not because she expected a miracle, but because she feared the truth she had buried for more than 15 years. Yusuf noticed his mother's unusual behavior. "Mama," he asked quietly, "why are you crying? Farouk will be fine, won't he?" Zainab quickly wiped away her tears. "Yes, my son," she replied with a forced smile. "Everything will be all right." But even as she spoke those words, her heart knew otherwise. A few minutes later, the doctor walked out of the laboratory holding a file. His face looked serious. "Mr. Ibrahim," the doctor called. "Yes, doctor." "Please come into my office." Ibrahim smiled confidently. "I hope my blood matches my son's." The doctor looked at him for a moment before speaking. "Please, sit down." Ibrahim sat unaware that his entire world was about to change. The doctor folded his hands. "Mr. Ibrahim, we repeated the blood test 3 different times because we believed there might have been an error." Ibrahim frowned. "What do you mean?" "The blood group and genetic markers we found are not compatible with the child. According to these medical results, you are not the biological father of Farouk." For a few seconds, Ibrahim did not understand what he had just heard. He laughed softly. "Doctor, perhaps you made a mistake." The doctor gently pushed the laboratory report across the table. "We repeated the test 3 times." Ibrahim stared at the report without saying the words. His hands slowly began to shake. "No." The doctor continued gently. "I am truly sorry." Ibrahim stood up. "No, Farouk is my son." The doctor remained calm. Science sometimes reveals difficult truths. Ibrahim's breathing became heavy. "I carried that boy from the day he was born. I know. I paid every hospital bill. I understand. I fed him. I know. I taught him how to write." The doctor's eyes softened. "I am sorry." Without saying another word, Ibrahim rushed out of the office. He found Zainab sitting outside. His face was pale. His voice trembled. "Zainab." She slowly raised her head. "What did the doctor say?" Ibrahim held up the laboratory report. He said, "I am not Farouk's father." Silence. The corridor became still. Zainab could not answer. Ibrahim stepped closer. "Tell me he is lying." She lowered her eyes. "Tell me." The sound of his voice echoed through the hospital corridor. Patients and nurses turned around. "Tell me." Tears rolled down Zainab's cheeks. She remained silent. Ibrahim grabbed his head. "Answer me." Finally, in a trembling voice, she whispered, "The doctor is telling the truth." Those words struck Ibrahim harder than any weapon. He staggered backwards until he leaned against the wall. "No." His eyes filled with tears. "No." He looked toward Farouk's hospital room. "The little boy I have called my son." He could not finish the sentence. Yusuf, Fatima, and Aisha walked into the corridor after buying drinking water with a nurse. They immediately sensed something was wrong. Baba? Ibrahim looked at them. His heart broke. For 15 years, he had loved these children equally. He had never treated any of them differently. He had sacrificed his own comfort to educate them. Now, confusion filled his heart. He turned back to Zainab. When did this happen? She remained silent. When? Her lips trembled. It happened before Yusuf was born. The hospital corridor froze. Ibrahim stared at her. What did you just say? She closed her eyes. I made a terrible mistake before our first child was born. Ibrahim could hardly breathe. Before Yusuf? She nodded slowly. Yes, he whispered. Then his voice became weak. Does that mean Yusuf is not my son? Zainab began to cry uncontrollably. Yes. Ibrahim stepped back again. What about Fatima? She covered her face. No. What about Aisha? Her shoulders shook. No. Ibrahim's voice cracked. And Farouk? She nodded once more. None of them. The words barely left her mouth. Are your biological children. The hospital became completely silent. Even the nurses nearby stopped moving. Ibrahim looked at each child. Yusuf smiled nervously, not understanding. Fatima looked frightened. Aisha held Farouk's little slippers tightly. Little Farouk lay inside the hospital room, unaware that the truth about his birth had just been revealed. Ibrahim slowly sat down. His eyes remained fixed on the floor. For more than 30 years, he had believed he was building his own family. Every school fee, every birthday, every illness, every sleepless night, every sacrifice, he had given everything without holding back. And now, in a single afternoon, the foundation of his entire life had collapsed. Zainab fell to her knees before him. Ibrahim, forgive me. He did not answer. I was young. Silence. I was afraid. Silence. I wanted to tell you many times. Silence. But every year that passed made it harder. Still, Ibrahim said nothing. Only tears rolled silently down his face. Yusuf walked closer. Baba? Ibrahim looked at the young man he had raised from infancy. His eyes were filled with fear. What is happening? Ibrahim wanted to answer, but no words came out. Instead, he lowered his head into his hands. His body began to shake violently. The emotional pain overwhelmed him. Suddenly, everything around him became blurry. The voices faded. The corridor spun before his eyes. Ibrahim, the doctor shouted. Before anyone could reach him, Ibrahim collapsed heavily onto the hospital floor. Nurse, quick, bring a stretcher. The medical team rushed toward him. Zainab screamed uncontrollably. Ibrahim! The children burst into tears as doctors surrounded him. The same hospital that had been trying to save Farouk was now fighting to save Ibrahim. As the stretcher disappeared through the emergency doors, Zainab stood frozen in the corridor. She realized that one hidden lie had destroyed the peace of an innocent family. And behind those closed hospital doors, Ibrahim's life now hung in the balance. The emergency room doors closed behind Ibrahim, as doctors and nurses worked desperately to save his life. Outside, the hospital corridor was filled with silence. Zainab sat on the floor, her face buried in her hands. Yusuf, Fatima, and Aisha stood beside one another, confused and frightened. They had never seen their father collapse before. Farouk was still receiving treatment in another ward, too weak to understand the storm that had suddenly entered the family's life. Several minutes later, the doctor came out of the emergency room. His face was serious. "Mrs. Zainab?" She stood up immediately. "Yes, doctor?" "Your husband has suffered a severe emotional shock. His blood pressure became dangerously high before he collapsed. We have stabilized him for now, but his condition is still critical." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Can I see him?" The doctor nodded. "But please don't upset him." Slowly, Zainab entered the room. Ibrahim lay quietly on the hospital bed. Machines monitored his heartbeat while oxygen tubes rested beneath his nose. He slowly opened his eyes. He saw Zainab standing there. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Ibrahim broke the silence. "I loved you." His voice was weak. "I trusted you with my whole life." Zainab fell to her knees. "I know. You watched me call those children my own." She cried harder. "I know. You watched me sacrifice everything. I know. You never stopped me. I wanted to tell you, but you didn't." The room became silent again. "Ibrahim," she whispered, "there is no excuse for what I did. I lied to you every day. Every birthday, every school fee, every prayer you prayed over those children reminded me of my sin. I lived with guilt for years, but fear kept me silent. I am deeply sorry." Ibrahim closed his eyes. He did not have the strength to argue. Outside the room, Yusuf quietly heard every word. The young boy stepped backward in disbelief. Fatima covered her mouth with both hands. Aisha began crying softly. For the first time in their lives, they understood that the man they had always called Baba was not their biological father. Yusuf slowly entered the room. He walked to Ibrahim's bedside. His eyes were filled with tears. "Baba." Ibrahim looked at him. Yusuf knelt beside the bed. "I don't know who my biological father is." His voice shook. "But the man who taught me how to pray, the man who taught me how to read, the man who worked every day so I could go to school." He began crying. "That man is my father." Fatima stepped forward. "You are the only father I have ever known." Aisha held Ibrahim's hand. "We don't want another father." Little Farouk, now feeling slightly better, was carefully brought into the room by a nurse. The little boy looked around in confusion. "Baba?" He stretched out his tiny hands. "I want Baba." The nurse gently placed him beside Ibrahim. Farouk hugged Ibrahim carefully. "I love you, Baba." The room fell silent. Even the doctor standing at the doorway wiped away a tear. Ibrahim slowly placed his trembling hand on Farouk's head. For the first time since the truth was revealed, a tear rolled down his face, not only from pain, but from love. He looked at all 4 children. Then he spoke slowly. "Blood can create a child." He paused. "But love creates a father." Everyone in the room began crying. Ibrahim continued. "I did not give you life." He smiled weakly. "But I gave my life." Yusuf fell into his father's arms. Fatima and Aisha embraced him gently. Even Zainab wept openly. Ibrahim turned to her. "What you did was deeply wrong." She lowered her head. "You broke my trust. I know. The truth should have been told many years ago. I know. I cannot pretend the pain is gone." She nodded through tears. I understand. But carrying hatred in my heart will only destroy what is left of this family. Zainab cried harder. I don't deserve your kindness. Ibrahim replied quietly. Forgiveness does not erase what happened. It simply stops the pain from controlling tomorrow. The doctor smiled gently. Over the next several days, Ibrahim remained in the hospital until his condition improved. Farouk also recovered from his illness. When both of them were discharged, the family returned home in Ilorin. Life was no longer the same. The laughter that once filled the house had become quieter. The wounds were still fresh. Trust could not be rebuilt overnight. Yet, Ibrahim made one important decision. He chose not to abandon the children. He continued paying their school fees. He continued helping with homework. He continued attending school events, not because they shared his blood, but because they had shared his life. As time passed, Yusuf graduated with excellent results and later became an engineer. Fatima fulfilled her dream and became a lawyer. Aisha studied medicine and became a doctor who treated children with compassion. Farouk followed Ibrahim's example and became a respected teacher in Ilorin, inspiring hundreds of students just as Ibrahim once had. The 4 children never stopped calling Ibrahim Baba. Anytime people asked why, Yusuf always answered with the same words. A father is not only the man whose blood runs in your veins. A father is the man whose love shapes your life. Zainab spent the rest of her life trying to rebuild the trust she had broken. She became known in her community for encouraging young couples to build their marriages on honesty. Whenever she spoke to women, she would say, "A hidden lie may survive for many years, but one day the truth will knock on your door. Tell the truth before the truth tells on you." Years later, Ibrahim retired from teaching. On his retirement day, hundreds of former students gathered to celebrate the humble teacher who had changed their lives. Standing beside him were Yusuf, Fatima, Aisha, and Farouk. One by one, they embraced him before the cheering crowd. No one looking at them could tell they were not connected by blood, because what they saw was stronger than biology. They saw love. They saw sacrifice. They saw forgiveness. And they saw a father whose greatest legacy was not the children he fathered, but the children he chose never to stop loving. If this story touched your heart, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about Ibrahim's decision at the end? Would you have made the same choice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters, and I enjoy reading every comment. If you enjoyed this African story, please like this video and share it with your family and friends so more people can experience these powerful lessons. Also, let me know which part of the world you're watching from. It's always wonderful to see where our viewers are joining us from. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another emotional and inspiring African story. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next African story.